Bachelor in Paradise, Bailey Brown, still processing Jeremy's lies. August 13th, 2025. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation news fans. Jeremy Simon has been keeping a huge secret from Bailey Brown on Bachelor in Paradise. Despite pursuing a relationship with her, he secretly called Susie Evans and asked her to return to the show. Jeremy has also made remarks that he regrets giving Bailey a rose instead of Susie. The other Season 10 contestants knew what Jeremy was keeping from Bailey, but stayed quiet. Brian Otts finally spoke up and told Bailey everything. Bailey opened up about how she's dealing with the fallout from the revelation now. Bailey Brown still processing Jeremy Simon's lies. Jeremy Simon seemed like a catch when he was on Jen Tran's season of The Bachelorette. But fans aren't loving his behavior on Bachelor in Paradise. From being rude to the producers to keeping secrets from Bailey, Jeremy has been called a loser, among other insults. Jeremy Simon went on one date with Susie Evans earlier in the season. His relationship with Bailey Brown was still developing. However, he lost his mind when Bailey accepted a date with Andrew Spencer. While Bailey and Andrew were on a date together, he convinced the producers to let him call Susie. Susie declined to return to the show and told him to focus on Bailey. But Jeremy couldn't get Susie out of his mind. At one point, he said he would propose to Susie if she came back to the beach. Most of the other Season 10 contestants knew about the phone call and Jeremy's lingering feelings for Susie. But none of them told Bailey until Brian Otts got fed up and spilled the beans. Bailey and Jeremy worked things out despite his lies. But while on the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast this week, Bailey said she's still processing what went down. The issue was more of not knowing that the phone call had happened, and then, even worse, everybody else knowing about the phone call because it could have been so squashed and not something that took over this entire season, she said about the secret dominating the last few episodes. Bailey admitted it was horrible to watch it back, especially because she thought her date with Jeremy was the best date she'd ever been on. Bailey Brown claps back at Andrew Spencer over Bachelor in Paradise. What Bailey Brown and viewers don't understand is why none of the other cast members told her about Jeremy calling Susie, especially Bailey's friends Alexi Godin and Kat Izzo. But Andrew Spencer pointed out that Bailey was keeping a secret of her own from her friend Parisa Shiftek. He took to social media after the episode aired to call Bailey out for the double standard of not telling Parisa that Brian asked Bailey for a secret rendezvous during the latest challenge. Bailey turned the invitation down, but Brian later caught up with her to clue her in to Jeremy's betrayal. She responded to Andrew's post about the situation with Parisa. Bailey defended herself and said she had to process it before she could tell Parisa or Jeremy about Brian's invitation. Bailey added that this season has been a lot on her mentally and wished her friends would give her grace. Do you agree with Andrew that Bailey was also keeping a secret from Parisa?
Turned nightmare. The sun was sinking behind the turquoise horizon in Sayulita, Mexico, casting a molten gold glow over the Bachelor in Paradise set. Waves lapped against the shore as couples held hands and whispered sweet nothings over tiki drinks. But Bailey Brown sat alone on a striped hammock, her fingers anxiously twisting the edge of a coral beach towel. Just 3 days earlier, she'd been convinced she had found her person. Jeremy had walked into paradise like something out of a romance novel, broad-shouldered, sun-kissed, with an easy laugh and a gaze that seemed to lock onto Bailey like she was the only woman in the world. From their first conversation, she swore it was fate. But fate, she was learning, had a way of playing cruel jokes. The cameras hadn't caught all of it, but enough had leaked to send Bachelor Nation into a frenzy. Jeremy hadn't been honest, not about his dating history, not about his intentions, and, most painfully, not about the promises he'd made to Bailey off-camera. Now the entire beach was buzzing with whispers, and Bailey, she was still processing. The connection everyone envied. In those first heady days of paradise, Bailey and Jeremy had been inseparable. Their first date was the kind producers dream of, swimming with dolphins, champagne on the deck of a private catamaran, and a sunset kiss framed so perfectly it could have been a Bachelor promo shot. Jeremy had told her in that soft, low voice, "I didn't come here to date around. I came here for you." The way Bailey later told it in her confessional, she'd felt like her heart had been lit on fire. She'd been on enough reality TV dates to know the difference between flirtation and intention, and Jeremy's words had felt intentional. By week 2, they were talking about what life would look like after Paradise. Her apartment in Nashville, his work in Austin, the possibility of weekend trips, maybe even meeting each other's families by Thanksgiving. It was the kind of connection that made other contestants jealous, at least until the cracks started to show. The first red flag. It was Olivia who first approached Bailey with the warning. "I don't know how to tell you this without it sounding bad," she said carefully, "but are you sure Jeremy's being straight with you?" Bailey had laughed nervously. "What do you mean?" Olivia glanced toward the bar, where Jeremy was laughing with 2 other women, one of whom was rubbing sunscreen onto his shoulders. "I heard from someone, don't ask me who, that Jeremy's been talking to a girl back home, and not in a 'it's over' kind of way." Bailey's stomach dropped, but she brushed it off. Paradise was a breeding ground for jealousy and misinformation. Besides, Jeremy had looked her in the eyes and told her she was the only one. Still, she didn't like the way her heart clenched whenever she saw him in deep conversation with someone else. The whisper that changed everything. The truth didn't explode all at once. It leaked, slow and poisonous. First came the casual comment from another contestant. "So, Jeremy's ex messaged me on Instagram." Then the late-night conversation at the fire pit, where Will accidentally revealed that Jeremy had kind of promised to keep things casual in Paradise. And then, the moment that would later become a Twitter gif for weeks, during Truth or Dare, Jeremy was dared to kiss the person you feel the strongest connection with. Everyone assumed it would be Bailey. It wasn't. Bailey laughed it off in the moment, but in her confessional, her voice cracked. "I don't know what just happened," she said, eyes glassy. "I thought we were on the same page. I thought I knew him." The confrontation. By week 3, Bailey couldn't keep ignoring the pit in her stomach. They were sitting by the shoreline, the warm water lapping at their feet, when she finally asked, "Jeremy, is there something you're not telling me?" He looked at her for a long time before sighing. "Bailey, before I came here, yeah, I was talking to someone. It wasn't serious, but I didn't exactly end it." Her throat tightened. "And when you told me I was the only one?" "I meant it," he said quickly. I didn't know how to bring it up without ruining what we had here." She stared at him, torn between anger and heartbreak. "So you lied by omission? Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for me?" Jeremy ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't want to lose you." The cameras caught it all, the tears she tried to blink away, the way she wrapped her arms around herself like she was holding in the pieces of her heart. The aftermath. After the confrontation, Bailey pulled away. She spent more time with the other women, less time on the daybeds where she and Jeremy had once curled up like teenagers. She started journaling again, scribbling late into the night about trust, red flags, and the ache of wanting to believe someone who had already proven they didn't deserve it. Jeremy tried to apologize, but every conversation felt hollow. "I just need time," she told him, her voice steady even as her heart wobbled. Off camera, Bailey later revealed she cried more in those 2 weeks than she had in the entire past year. The women rally around her. If there was one silver lining, it was the women of Paradise. Olivia, Rachel, and Jess became her unofficial support squad, bringing her margaritas, staging impromptu dance parties, and making sure she laughed at least once a day. "Girl, you are not going to let a man ruin your beach vacation," Olivia declared one afternoon, handing Bailey a glittery sarong. Fans watching at home fell in love with the bond between the women, flooding Twitter with praise. The way the girls rally around Bailey, this is the real love story of Paradise. Protect Bailey at all costs. Jeremy's side of the story. Of course, Jeremy had his own version of events. In his exit interview, he insisted that he'd never technically lied. "I told Bailey I was here for her, and I was, but I can't erase my past. I wish she could have understood that." His attempt at damage control didn't land well with fans, who accused him of gaslighting and minimizing Bailey's feelings. Memes of his "I can't erase my past" line quickly went viral, accompanied by captions like, "Bro, you could have just erased the text messages."
Bailey finds her voice. When Bailey left Paradise, she didn't slam Jeremy on social media right away. She posted beach photos, gratitude messages to her fellow contestants, and cryptic quotes about self-worth. But during the Bachelor in Paradise after the final rose taping, she finally spoke her truth. "I'm still processing what happened," she admitted, looking directly at Jeremy. "But I know I deserve honesty from day one. I know I deserve someone who chooses me without hesitation, and that wasn't you." The audience erupted in applause. Jeremy's jaw tightened. Life after Paradise. Months later, Bailey has been focusing on herself. She's been traveling, partnering with brands, and, if Instagram is any indication, rediscovering joy. When asked in a podcast interview if she would ever consider speaking to Jeremy again, she laughed softly. "I think some people are meant to teach you lessons, not be in your life forever. Jeremy was one of those people." And, just like that, she closed the chapter. Still, she admitted, "I'm still processing, but I'm also moving forward." And that feels pretty amazing.